Howdy. So I want to take a gander at number 5 here, just to get us at least started. Number 1, we want to make sure this is in standard form. And number 2, we're going to choose, is it completing the square or quadratic formula? Well, I like to use completing the square when A is 1 and B is even. So since B is here 3, I rather am going to choose quadratic formula. So mentally, we're going to identify A is 1, B is 3, and C is 5. Don't forget that x equals negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's go ahead and start plugging some things in. It's the opposite of 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times a times c, which is 5, all over 2a. So keep going with this, and we get negative 3 plus or minus, then we have a 9 minus a 20. 4 times 5 times 1 is 20. Put the radical around that, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Keep going here. Negative 3 plus or minus radical negative 11, all over 2. And now what we just have to do is simplify and split things up, because we always need to have it in the form a plus bi. This is called the standard form for a complex number. So I'm going to split up the real component, so I get negative 3 halves. Remember, negative 3 halves, it's just this part right here. Now, the complex part is this part right here. So let's now do plus or minus. The radical 11 is on top, the 2 is down below, and the negative, the square root of negative, comes out as an I. And there we go. It's kind of ugly, but it's absolutely correct. Now let's take a gander at number 9. Now, because, like I mentioned earlier, my A is 1 and my B is even here, I like completing the square on this one. So I'm going to complete the square by subtracting the 3 from both sides and giving myself a little bit of space there. Then I'm going to take my b here, divide it by 2 to get negative 1. I'm going to square it to get a positive 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Remember, every single time you do that, this trinomial will cleanly become a perfect square. And then we get a negative 2 over here. Now I take the square root of both sides, x minus 1, and so I get the plus or minus the negative radical negative 2 there. So that, of course, will simplify. I'm going to add the 1 to both sides, and here the negative comes out as an I, and the radical 2 stays in. So I like to leave it like this, even though standard form says a plus bi. I like to put the radical in front on this case, just so the I doesn't get confused with over there. So we'll call these the two solutions. And there we go. Hope that helps.